To the second of what I hope will be a regular briefing from the City of Madison. I'm Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. We are planning on having these briefings at this time on Thursdays going forward. I will note that next week we'll be having a press conference at this time instead. So we'll skip next week for the briefing and be back the week after that. Today we're going to hear from Public Health, the clerk's office and the police department, and then I'll have a number of things to update you on as well. But we'll start with Janel Heinrich, who's our Director of Public Health.
Good morning. I'm Janel Heinrich, Director of Public Health, Madison, Dane County. I wanted to share a few things with you this morning. As of today, we have 3,298 cases of COVID in Dane County. Our numbers are holding steady on a 7-day average of about 98 cases per day. We are seeing, fortunately, in the last couple weeks, our community spread rate has gone down from 37% a couple weeks ago to 28% in this last reporting period. So this is good that it's decreasing because more people know where they may have come into contact with COVID, but it is still not letting us take our eye off the prize or our foot off the pedal. We know that community spread is here. COVID is here for a while. This past week, on Monday, our masking order went into effect for everyone who is 5 and older. We have received overwhelming, so far, compliance with some concerns that have also been raised. Things that are important to consider and to continue with, testing is continuing to happen. The wait times at the Alliant Energy Center have gone down incredibly since we started the COVID Connect online intake system, so you can register in advance, provide your information, so that when you drive up, you can just get tested. There has been very, very little wait besides kind of the morning backup. So if you need to get tested, we encourage you to go onto that app, connect with it, and provide your information so we can get you tested. And that will also support getting your responses, your results to you quickly within 24 to 36 hours, as long as the lab timeliness continues. So those are a few of the primary updates, and I'd be happy to answer questions later.
Thank you, Janel. Next, we're going to hear from Maribeth Witzel-Behl, who's our city clerk, about the upcoming elections.
Good morning. So far, we have issued 54,939 absentee ballots for the August 11th primary. We have 9,055 ballots returned to be counted at this point. So there are a lot of ballots we're still waiting to receive back. As of today, we have 179,807 voters, or registered voters, and if all of the absentees we've issued get returned, that will be 30.1% voter turnout. So we're looking at a relatively high turnout for the August 11th primary. On Tuesday night, the council passed a resolution to accept the safe voting grant that has been talked about some in the press already. Components of that grant would allow us to pay a bonus to poll workers who are working August 11th and November 3rd. And we currently pay a living wage for our poll workers of $13.62 an hour. This would provide an additional $8.17 an hour on election day. And this is just for the fall elections. because of the difficulty in getting enough poll workers during the pandemic. Chief inspectors, the person who will run the polling place, they currently receive $15.66 an hour, and the bonus provided through the grant would give them an additional $9.40 an hour. Other than that, the grant is going to allow us to get some materials to conduct curbside voter outreach. There are a lot of people who do not have the ability to register to vote online at home and will need to be registering in person. Our number of registered voters is down from where it typically would be without a pandemic. And so we know there are thousands of voters in Madison who are going to need help registering prior to the November election. And we have plans to do that curbside with tablets and signage and tents. We're working on getting that set up. The grant also is providing funding to give a stipend to our polling locations in August and in November to make it a little easier to host a polling location and to try to help cover costs that they might incur in extra sanitization and disinfectant. We also are going to be doing an advertising campaign this fall, thanks to the grant, and purchasing extra safety supplies for our poll workers and to have in place at our polling places to make sure the election is as safe as it can be. In addition to that, we're working with public health on safety plans for the election and for in-person absentee voting, and we're very appreciative of their help in making sure that everything is safe.
Thank you, Mary Beth. And of course, we encourage everyone to register to vote absentee if you're comfortable with that, and whatever you do to make sure that you do vote both in August and November. Next, we're going to hear from Police Chief Vic Wahl with an update from the Police Department.
Good morning. Just two things that I will provide updates on. The first is sort of the continuing gun violence that we're seeing in the city. The trend that I described last week has continued. In about the last week or so, a little bit longer, we've seen 17 shots fired incidents, 2 individuals that were struck by gunfire, 5 vehicles or buildings struck by gunfire, and 99 shell casings recovered. Now, when we look at the numbers year to date, so far this year, we've seen 126 shots fired incidents, and that's about an 80% increase over the same time period last year. And in those 126 incidents, there's been 23 individuals who have been hit by gunfire, 43 vehicles or buildings struck by gunfire, and we've recovered about 460 shell casings. And for perspective, that's almost the number of shell casings that we recovered in all of 2019. So unfortunately, the trend that we've seen over the last 2 months now is continuing. The MPD Violent Crime Unit is leading the investigation into these incidents, and we're continuing to do what we can to hold people accountable for this type of violence in our community, and also to take steps to prevent future violence and to intervene when we have the capacity to do so. The second point that I will just make, I've mentioned briefly in a couple contexts, but I just want to take an opportunity to highlight it again here today. And I mentioned it in my blog last week, and it was a topic at the Common Council Executive Committee this week. Earlier this year, after our first few nights of unrest in late May and early June, I reached out to the Quattrone Center, which is affiliated with the University of Pennsylvania Law School, and asked them to do a review of our response. The Quattrone Center is the Quattrone Center for Fair and Impartial Justice, and they do a number of things to improve the criminal justice system. And one thing that they do is what they call a sentinel event review, sometimes referred to as a root cause analysis. And so they'll take undesirable outcomes that happen in the criminal justice system, like a wrongful conviction, for example, and do a really deep dive on what caused that, and then come forth with a report with recommendations for future improvements. We had been working with the Control Center and had an agreement in place for them to review an incident from last year. But early on in June, I recognized that the unrest and the riots that we saw here in Madison were much more impactful and had much more sort of broad scope of issues that they would be helpful to come in and take an independent look at. So they agreed to sort of change course from one subject to the other, and that the early steps of that process are in place. They will bring in subject matter experts from across the country and external stakeholders and do a very transparent and thorough process, which will ultimately be public and free and available for all to see. So I'm really excited about that potential, excited about the capacity and the review process that they'll be bringing forth. And again, continuous improvement is one of our core values and something I'm committed to as chief. So I look at this as a real opportunity for us to take a close look at what we did in some extraordinary circumstances and look for ways to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I have a number of updates and reminders as well, and then we'll take questions. So just as a reminder, the Commercial Ownership Assistance Program is in front of the Finance Committee on July 20th at 4:30 p.m. This is a program we've proposed to identify and support underrepresented business owners who are seeking to purchase or develop commercial space. So I'm hopeful that that will move forward through the council. I also want to let folks know that the Madison Public Library's Central Library is partnering with the American Red Cross to host 2 blood drives this summer. Only guests with scheduled appointments will be allowed into the building, and donors will be able to enter the Central Library through the Fairchild Street doors, and the drive is in Community Room 301. There are 2 dates for the blood drives. Friday, July 17th from 9:30 to 2:30, so 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., and Wednesday, August 22nd, again from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Please sign up in advance with the Red Cross if you're interested in giving blood, and thank you to everyone who is a blood donor. Next, the Goodman Pool is open for recreational swim only, no lessons, competitions, events, or pool parties, but you can go swim at the Goodman Pool. And it is open each day for 3 2-hour sessions, weather permitting. These sessions are from noon to 2, from 2:30 to 4:30, and then from 5 to 7. You'll notice that there's a 30-minute window in between those sessions where the pool will be closed, and that allows time for staff to sanitize and clean the pool areas and will help maintain the capacity limits that the pool now has. Each session is a separate paid entry. Please, if you want to go to the pool, consider purchasing a pool play pass in advance online. Please arrive ready to swim. All of the lockers and changing rooms are closed. Bring a mask for each person over 5 years. Per the Dane County masking order. Pack a chair. The deck chairs are not going to be provided. Bring a water bottle. There will be touch-free water filling stations. And if you're feeling sick, of course, please stay home. An update on Metro Transit. As of Monday, the 13th, this past Monday, Metro had decreased its bus capacity to a maximum number of 20 passengers on each bus. And all riders are required to wear a face covering on the bus. To receive updates about Metro's future plans, service levels, and more, you can sign up for text and email alerts at mymetrobus.com/alerts or contact Metro customer service at 608-266-4466 or mymetrobus@cityofmadison.com. Update on parking. The following parking regulations are not being enforced. The residential permit-only areas, the 1 and 2 hour time posted limits in non-metered areas, and the street sweeping and Clean Streets, Clean Lakes program restrictions. Those are not being enforced. What is being enforced is the on-street meter fees during 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, except for city holidays, and the posted time limit restrictions at the meters. So if it's a 1 hour meter, that will be enforced as a 1 hour meter. And all other posted parking restrictions are enforced. Please keep in mind, temporarily, there is a $5 daily maximum fee in all city-owned public parking garages, and the first hour of parking in the garages is free on Saturdays. The temporary restaurant pickup loading zones remain in effect, and the parking division is continuing to consider requests from businesses for new temporary loading zones if your business would like to apply for one. We are publicizing a number of community resources, and these and more are available at cityofmadison.com under the Community Resources link. If you are homeless or in danger of losing housing, please contact the city's housing helpline at 608-264-0549. That's 608-264-0549, or email housinginfo@cityofmadison.com. If you are experiencing food insecurity or need access to emergency food resources, please call the United Way of Dane County 211 system. So on your phone, that's 211. If you want to text, you can text your zip code to 898-211. And they will connect you with emergency food resources and much more if you're in need of other resources as well. If you need help accessing internet connection in your home or telephone connection, you can call the Public Service Commission at 608-267-3595. That's 608-267-3595. And again, these resources and more are posted at cityofmadison.com. Just click on the Community Resources link. Next, I want to remind everyone that you still have time to fill out the census, and it's incredibly important for our community that everyone in Madison fill out the census. You need to be counted. Your being counted brings more resources to our community, which we are in need of. These are federal resources that depend on our population counts, but also the demographics that are represented in those population counts. If you haven't already filled out the census for your household, please visit 2020census.gov and do so. You can fill it out online, over the phone, or on paper, and you need to fill it out by October. So please don't wait. Be counted today. I'm going to go through a few upcoming meetings. Today at 5:30 p.m., the Body-Worn Camera Feasibility Review Committee is meeting. Monday, the 20th at 4:30 p.m., the Finance Committee is meeting. Tuesday, the 21st at 4:30, the Common Council Executive Committee will meet, and at 6:30, the Common Council will meet. On Wednesday, the 22nd at noon, the Police and Fire Commission has another meeting. And I encourage folks to, if you have thoughts about our next chief, to please go and testify at the Police and Fire Commission about that. You can also contact them at policechiefsearch@cityofmadison.com via email. Also on Wednesday, the 22nd at 5 p.m., the Transportation Commission is meeting. And at 5:30, the Community Services Committee is meeting. On Thursday, the 23rd, at 4:30, the Housing Strategy Committee meets. At 5 o'clock, the Alder Work Group to develop logistics and operational details for the MPD Independent Civilian Oversight meets. And at 6 p.m., the Task Force on Municipal Golf in Madison Parks meets. All of these meetings are virtual. You can find all of the information about these meetings at cityofmadison.com. You can just click on the meeting calendar. And you are able to register either to testify virtually at these meetings, to listen via Zoom or phone, and some of these meetings you'll find on the award-winning Madison City channel as well, or on our YouTube channel. Next, I just want to emphasize the importance of being tested for COVID-19. If you are exhibiting any symptoms, please go to your healthcare provider and get tested and make sure you get care. If you're not having symptoms and you want to get tested, please come to the Alliant Energy testing site. This is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Tuesday and Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Mornings are busy, so if you are in a rush, please come later in the day. This will be open at least through the end of August. And there are also, thanks to the hard work of Madison, Dane County Public Health, there are community testing sites that are popping up around Dane County. So keep an eye out on your local community center's website to see if there's a community testing site near you that you can access possibly easier than the Alliant site. We encourage you, if you are going to the Alliant site to get tested, to pre-register. All you need is a phone that can receive email, and you can find out more details on the Public Health Madison Dane County website. I want to end on a couple of positive notes, and so first is to remind you of the Look Forward Madison project that our library and many other departments are participating in. You can find them at lookforwardmadison.org and on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Look Forward Madison. They are sharing exciting, positive events, cultural opportunities, lifting up good stories of how we are taking care of each other in this difficult time. I encourage you to visit them on social media, to tag them in your own positive stories about people who are helping our community or ways that you are helping our community in this difficult time. And then finally, I want to do a shout out and a thank you to the Dane County mask makers. These folks have been sewing masks for our community for weeks, if not months now. They are making masks available to community groups and to individuals. And you can find them online at danecountymaskmakers.com. If you need a mask, they have a whole list of places that you can get them. If you want to help your community by sewing masks and donating them, they will hook you up with all sorts of ways to help in that effort as well. So I want to say a big thank you to the Dane County mask makers today. And that is my update. We have a little over 5 minutes for questions, and so we'll take any questions that have come in. Your mic isn't on.
Thank you, Mayor. The first couple of questions goes to Public Health. The first question for you, Janel, is will there be citations given or any follow-up with the Hellberg's coffee?
We are working with our attorneys, and we have already given out to date 3 citations. It's possible in general since the beginning of the orders. There may be more, and we are working with our attorneys on next steps.
Okay, and the next question is, your education specialist, Christy Vogt, has been quoted referencing concerns over especially young people being unwilling to fully cooperate with your new contact tracers. What concerns have they expressed, and what are you doing to obtain the important infection tracking information?
I'm sorry, let me just make sure that I understand. The question is, are we having challenges reaching people for contact tracing, I believe, in this young population overall? We have had some experiences where folks have been less likely to tell us who they have been in contact with or where they may think that they may have been. We are doing a lot of outreach to this population. We're working with the University of Wisconsin to support messaging to their constituents as well. So we are seeing that improve a bit. So we hope that will maintain that level of our ability to have folks respond.
Thank you, Janelle. The next couple of questions are for Chief Wahl. Hello, Chief. The first question for you is, any information or update on Althea's case, the girl who says she was set on fire in a hate crime? We are receiving a lot of questions from the community asking for updates.
No updates beyond what we had last week. It remains an open case, open investigation. We have detectives assigned that are actively working the case, and the FBI is assisting us in the investigation. But beyond that, nothing further to provide.
Thank you, Chief. And the next question for you is, have police responded to any calls or confrontations over people wearing or not wearing masks since the mandate went into effect Monday?
I'm not aware of any calls that we've responded to that had anything to do with masks. We've been, pretty clear to our folks that we don't intend to really delve into enforcement of the mask order itself, but I'm not aware of any disturbances or disputes related to masks that we've been involved in.
Okay, thank you, Chief. And the next set of questions are for City Clerk Maribeth. Thank you, Maribeth. The first question for you is, what does it mean that the city needs outside funds to implement what it considers a safe voting plan for August and November?
I think it means that we were not aware there would be a pandemic when the budget was prepared last year.
Thank you. How many voting sites is the city on track to have for in-person voting on Election Day?
We are hoping to have 89 sites in August, as we typically would. We are still looking to replace a few sites that have kicked us out, so that hasn't been finalized yet. And for the November election, we are trying hard to make sure that we have 92 sites, as we normally would have. And we're still searching for replacement sites for November as well. So if anybody has a large space that they'd be willing to open up to host voting on Election Day, they're welcome to give us a call. We might have a need in their area.
Thank you. I think you sort of answered a second part to that question, which was how many people will be staffing each location?
It depends. We staff our polling places based on anticipated turnout and the number of voters in each ward. And we also are taking into consideration whether the polling place is going to have mostly absentee ballots or mostly people voting in person. And so the number of poll workers at each site is going to vary depending on the needs we anticipate at that site.
Thank you so much, Maribeth. The last question we have is for our mayor, Satya Rhodes-Conway. What do you think of the change to the proposed downtown recovery program to now include a downtown equity program? What do you hope these programs would accomplish? Should this be a citywide effort?
Thank you. Before I answer that question, let me just emphasize again something that Mary Beth said, which is that we are still recruiting both poll workers and polling places for the November election. And so we encourage anybody who is particularly at low risk for COVID-19 to sign up to be a poll worker. As you heard, there is bonus pay for the next two elections, which makes this a good job for folks. And then we also are looking for polling sites. If there are larger facilities in our community that we haven't used as a polling site in the past that would like to volunteer, we would certainly welcome that. And you can contact the city clerk's office in both cases to sign up either as a polling site or as a poll worker. This is obviously a critical election for our country, and every election is important in our city, and we do need the community's help to make sure that we can pull off a safe, fair, and secure election. And again, I'm really grateful to the Center for Tech and Civic Life for supporting us through this pandemic election process. I'm hopeful that these are the last two pandemic elections that we will have to run in the city of Madison. But I want folks to know that we are using this grant to build up our infrastructure and our ability to continue to operate in this way over time. So while this does cover sort of the emergency costs of being a pandemic election, we'll also cover investments in our infrastructure for voting over the long term. Now, on the downtown recovery and equity programs, I'm very much in favor, and in fact am sponsoring both of these programs. I think let me talk about the equity program first. This is something that we have been talking about at the staff level for a couple of weeks now, if not longer, of how we can support filling vacant storefronts, providing pop-up opportunities in downtown, particularly, and to do that preferentially with businesses owned by folks of color, women, disabled folks, other underrepresented people who are owning businesses in the city of Madison. So I'm very excited about the possibilities here. I'm hoping that if this program passes, that we will see new businesses downtown, either as pop-ups or partnerships or perhaps even long-term. It's a difficult time, obviously, to be starting a business in the middle of a pandemic and an economic recession, but we are hopeful that we can support entrepreneurs and business owners in our community in this way because, first of all, because they need it, and second of all, because that is the engine for job creation in our community, is small businesses. On the Downtown Recovery Program, I'm also in support of this effort. I think it's very important for us to bring downtown back, to support the small businesses, many of which are owned by people of color on State Street, and to help them reopen. And downtown is, we think of it as a neighborhood, but it's also the heart of our city. And I cannot imagine losing the small businesses that line State Street and the negative impact that that would have on our community. We need State Street to reopen. We need State Street to reopen even better and stronger and more equitable than it has been, and more welcoming than it has been in the past. And that, I think, this pairing of the Downtown Recovery Program and the Downtown Equity Program will help us to do just that. So I'm hopeful that the council and also the community will support both of these efforts going forward.
And that's it.
All right. And we are just on time. So thank you again for listening into this briefing. Again, next week we'll be having a press conference instead, but the week after we'll be back at this same time in the same place. Have a great day, everybody. And wash your hands, wear your masks, take care of yourselves. Thanks.